Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And yeah, let's get right to this thing. First up tonight, we have Mark Ward, and Mark is going to be reading a piece that we actually published in Misery Tourism. I don't know, not that long ago. And Mark is also terribly sleep deprived. So we're gonna let's yeah. First of all, Mark, thank you. Thank you for coming here in spite of your like 2 hours of sleep and the fact
Fine.
that
It
you're
just it just gives me character, so it's fine. It gives me, grit and character. Thank you for having me. I thought I would read, since I am mainly a poet, I thought I would read two fucked up poems that are in Scab. One is in there previously, and one is going to be in the next issue. And the second one is probably the most fucked up thing I've ever written, so it seemed appropriate. Um, this is a poem called Menage, and it's after a conversation on queer poetry with Eric Doris, and it's in three parts. One, bodied. You fuck him like a necrophiliac, concerned only with his scrotal sac bobbing rhythmically, involuntarily against you. You prepare to vault into a void. Bodiless to you, he's patchwork, a warm dildo avoiding the human experiencing this movement with you. Absolutely no strings. And you're liquid, undone, vulnerable, and tepid, his body irritatingly complete. He reaches out to you, and the conceit is broken. The room floods with specifics. A load splashed across his chest, clocks ticking, his smile unfurling, the sound of your name. Two, embodied. You write your poems as if you're following a trail of body parts, like fresh breadcrumbs. You've trimmed away his body, leaving holes lined up on the picnic blanket, waiting. In poems, orifices can be alive. Distilled, you say, but you are still bodied. Lust unzips your connective tissue. You're a dick, you're a mouth, you're an asshole. Mechanically thrusting, closing, floating above you, the impulse for all of this dissipates. And you find yourself mid-fuck writing lines to give reason to distance. Three, three, disembodied. You aspire to being a person in love with something more than a body. You aspire to being more a person than in love with something, a body. A body aspires to being a person in love with something more than you. You aspire to being a person, body in love with a thing more than some. You being something more, aspire a person to in love with a body. You're in love with a body more than being some persona aspirating. You're a poor son embodying love as nothing. So that's that one. This next poem is verbatim a dream that I had about the nicest man that I've ever known and our pet, and it was the most terrifying thing that I've ever had dreamt. So I felt that I should record it, and I suppose it's so terrifying because it's so out of character and so extreme. After image. I dreamt you cut the puppy's throat over where I laid out his training pads, but as he bled, I saw you had removed them, and he bled out onto the already warped hardwood floor. His blood had the thickness and consistency of marmalade. His eyes were coal black, and sheer disappointment and hurt flooded his horrified face, staring at the floor, at the betrayal leaking out. I spent the rest of the dream lying to everyone about what happened, sighing, it was time, my stomach in free fall. You held him in your arms, staring at me, your face inscrutable. You told him he was loved, to go to sleep. So I felt I had to read some poems since I am a poet. So yeah, as William was saying, this was in February. It's a piece called A Good Night's Sleep. And I'm actually writing, there's going to be two more stories or like two more chapters of the same story. Somebody on Twitter was like, oh, I wonder what happens. And I was like, I want to know what happens too. So now I'm writing it. So yeah, expect part two, which is finished in your inbox on July 1st. This is called A Good Night's Sleep. After my life imploded, I thought things would eventually get better. They didn't. Bone weary and unable to sleep, unmedicated, I quit my job and left for Paris without telling anyone. My insides roiled with a palpable guilt that felt like an empty stomach just after vomiting, but without any of the relief. Strangely, that was probably a sign that it was the right decision. I came here because the city didn't care about me. I don't know anyone here. I don't speak the language and have no intention of learning it. So far, I spent 2 weeks drifting through Paris's endless museums, not talking to anyone for days at a time. I occasionally wondered if I'm dead. My stomach laughed. You don't get off that easy. One night, I went to a sauna. Within 15 minutes, I'd been fucked badly by a tipsy Arab. I walked the loop of the cubicles, losing track of time. It could have been morning outside, the city awash with a flash flood, something biblical splitting the sky. Still, I remained fully invested in this loop. The itch to see what lay around the corner and if its contents or attitude had changed in the last 3 minutes. A man stared me down in a way that put me back into my body. I slowly wandered in, soaking in his impatience. He started divining my likes and dislikes. He backhanded me across my face and dropped his towel. He kept hitting, and there was no time to think, and this was exactly what I wanted. He pushed my body up against the corner of the cubicle, folding me as neatly as possible while still maintaining enough access to fuck me. After we've both come, the world brayed to be noticed. Terrible techno blared as if the building was ashamed of the sounds of fucking within. People chatted, caught up, bitched. I felt tired and more than anything upset that we had stopped. Life had gone and announced itself, and here it was, a chill in a dim cubicle. I started to cry. He bent down to me. I was sat on the floor between the cubicle and the door, a soft voice asking me if I was okay. I took his hand and hit my face with it. He looked sadder than I did. I told him to fuck off. I called him a cunt, a limp dick sissy, a useless fucking cunt. He left. I watched the men follow their tracks. He never rejoined them and must have left. No one was brave enough to come in, but I sat covered in two people's cum, daring them to. After about 45 minutes, the cold had become unbearable, so I got up. I sought out the red LED in the corner. Dinner time. I showered in preparation for the whole new clientele who were waiting. I left at lunchtime the next day, forced out by my stomach. I felt an urge to write something and took out a tiny pocket-sized notebook and a little pencil I'd swiped from a betting shop. Nothing came. I flicked through its used pages. Not a salvageable line. I wrote my number on about 15 sheets and sat outside the entrance to the sauna. I gave them out to guys going in. One guy who was leaving and had cruised me earlier saw me give it to someone and wanted one, but I acted confused, speaking in clearly made up German and pointing angrily at the notebook until he left. As I walked home, I wrote my number on each of the remaining pages of the notebook. I gave a slip to every half decent looking man that I saw. I passed the site, called the builders over, and gave them some too. Most didn't know what to say. One or two laughed. I groped myself over my jeans, and the remaining few started to shout at me. But a younger builder pulled them aside and spoke to them. Regarde. And I could see pity. They looked at me like he told them I was a madman. I couldn't bear it and headed for what passed as home. The next day, I went back and the young builder was waiting outside the empty site, apparently for a lift. He smiled a little, testing the waters, but I didn't have the capacity to respond, so my face remained blank. Something in my face, unknown to me, must have softened, or perhaps he just imagined it did. Did anyone ring you yet? Of course, he spoke perfect English. I shrugged my shoulders. I hadn't charged my phone in a while. Why didn't you give me your fucking number? Because you fucking ring. He laughed. Didn't you want the others to? Yeah, because it wouldn't mean anything to them. He nodded, slowly mouthing, oh, patronizing me. A car pulled up. Give me your number. I did. Charge your phone. No one could get through. He got in the back of the car and stared out the back of the window as if it was a fucking sunrise. Sometime later, my charge phone beeped with annoyance. 17 messages, all in French, mostly abuse. I saved those. One was in hushed tones. Whatever he was going on about, it was a lot. Trey. And then it was him again. He said hi and left his number. Didn't ask me to call him, didn't say talk soon. I rang. Leo, the big guy from the south, the guy you gave your number to first, wants to beat the living shit out of you. The other guy said that he was the one that you wanted and that it was Leo's fault that you came here. They spent the rest of the day calling him a faggot. The foreman sent him out for supplies to stop him from punching them. They made up a little song and sang it to him as he left. À la recherche de son petit paddy, sung to the tune of So Long Farewell from The Sound of Music. And what do they call you? He laughed. Nothing fucking bothered him. My name? They're mostly all married with kids and get laid. Best, a couple of times a year. I told them how often and how easily I get laid and that shut them up. Also, I never rose to the bait. You think Leo will be up for fucking me and knocking me around? I can ask. He'd definitely be up for giving you a smack. I laughed. He continued. Or I could do it instead. That what you want, better? He had made up the song. His voice was low and seductive. I used to be so well behaved. I was hard again. Come over. I gave him directions, and about half an hour later, he arrived shirtless, wearing just work-stained trousers and a bike helmet. The sheen of sweats clung to him. It must have been hot out. I couldn't remember the last time I'd been out in the daytime. I wasn't sure what day it was either. Barely in the door, and he pushed me to my knees and started to fuck my mouth. He slapped my face as if gauging the temperature. I told him not to waste my fucking time. He punched me hard in the stomach, leaving me breathless and filling my mouth with his now hard cock before I could catch my breath. But then he faltered. Have you always enjoyed pain? I sighed, somehow, with my whole body. This is what I want right now. Do I always? No. Do I want to explain why I want it right now? No. Do I want to discuss it? No. He ordered me onto my back and started to fuck me. He backhanded me a few times across my face. He was too invested in his thrusting and forgot about everything else. When he looked at me, I let him see how bored I was. He shifted a bit, trying for a better angle, but held my gaze. After a minute or so, he'd gone limp. He took out his phone and sent a message. He dressed slowly and in silence. I hadn't noticed his black boots. He'd kicked them off almost immediately. He unlaced and relaced them. He looked angry. I spread out like a dog at his feet and curled around his boots. He rolled his eyes. The doorbell rang. He stepped out of my grip and answered it. It was Leo, looking confused until he saw me and barreled in. He didn't care that I was naked. He beat the shit out of me as promised. He bust my lip, bruised a rib, knocked out a tooth. The young builder sat behind him watching, touching.
Did Mark freeze up for anyone else? No,
Yeah.
Mark.
Yes,
No.
it froze. No.
No.
Right at the literally
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
right.
climax in all senses of the term.
Literally. Is Mark still here, or did he?
He's still in the room. Maybe
He's
he's
still in the room.
getting his connection fixed here.
Ireland.
Mark, feel free to disconnect and reconnect if you think that'll fix it. I'll make sure I let you in. Oh, cool. Okay. He just dropped. He'll probably be back in a second. Carter.
The internet troubles, yeah. That's good.
So we'll give Mark a second here to get back.
So the reason I'm showing myself tonight is because my story may use some gestures and stuff.
Oh, I was wondering too. Yeah, Carter, we were talking about Rudy's bookshelf before.
Hey, what happened?
You froze up. You
Yeah, you
froze up
froze.
right at the climax of your story.
Oh, I literally had like a few sentences left. Where did I stop?
So
Okay, so like you as promised, like you have the thank you for coming back to us. Okay.
No problem. I spread
Just
out like
as-
a dog at his feet.
You-
Did you get that?
So you stopped just as he was getting the shit beat out of him. But
Okay.
if I were you, I might start back up with the doorbell rang.
Okay.
Is
Yeah,
that-
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The doorbell rang. He stepped out of my grip and answered it. It was Leo looking confused until he saw me and barreled in. He didn't care that I was naked. He beat the shit out of me as promised. He busted my lip, bruised a rib, knocked out a tooth. The young builder sat behind him watching, touching himself. Leo didn't see that. He did, however, notice that I was hard and kicked me in the crotch and spat at me over and over. I thought my balls might rupture. After they left, Leo first, after he suddenly stopped, having gotten scared at how much
Oh no, Mark, you froze up again.
Oh no.
We're being literally edged, or what's the word?
funny.
Tantrum. Yeah.
Oh, Mark, you're back, I think.
Did I go again?
You went again.
You did,
Yes.
yeah.
Fuck, what is going on?
I know, right? So you were at me in the crotch and spat on me over and over.
Okay. I thought my balls might rupture. After they left, Leo first, after he suddenly stopped, having gotten scared how much he was fucking me up and how I was putting up no resistance. And later, the young nameless builder who didn't deign to touch me again, but soon after Leo left, came on my face. After they left, I slept soundly, still in the hall, for almost 24 hours.
You did it.
I didn't know what was going on. I thought the meeting ended or something, or I didn't know what was
Oh,
happening.
just I don't know. Your internet must be giving you hell or something. But Mark, that was phenomenal. I'm sorry about the internet issues, but you fucking killed it, man. You killed
Thank
it.
you.
And I want to like obviously, I like the story. We published the story, so you know we like the story. But those poems were fucking phenomenal. And in
Oh, thank you.
particular, that first poem, I love the way that first poem is structured because each individual piece of it could stand wonderfully on its
So
own.
you get
But the deconstructive way it
15% off when you
progresses,
spend
right?
$15.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. But the deconstructive way it progresses, right? Where like the first section is a pretty straight, like empty sex poem, right? The necrophilia, but then the act of like the metaphorical necrophilia in the second part becomes about the poem, right? And the poem is being dismembered. And then in the third one, language itself is being dismembered in a really wonderful way. And so like you just keep subverting the reader or the listener's expectations in that. It's just a phenomenal poem.
Oh, thank you.
But all the pieces you read were great, Mark. And I'm sorry it's closing in on 2 a.m. And I'm sorry.
No,
that,
it's fine. And I'm
you're having
sorry for all the
internet trouble.
unintentional internet, anticipation right at the end of the story.
Yeah, it was actually
But-
perfect because that one is like about like not being able to get any sleep, but also extreme acts of violence and depravity, and I love it. I love how perfectly that went along with that. But no, I love that piece, and I think I was the one who handled the acceptance for it, I think, and it was I was really just shocked when I read that because it was really amazingly like the flow of it and stuff reflects how someone without sleep functions, kind of like the flow and like the stuff in the story reflects
Yeah.
like a night without
you.
sleep, which I've experienced too, and that's boy, yeah.
Well, thank you both. Thank you
So
both.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for coming and reading.
No problem. Stu said something about bees. There's something going on with bees. I forgot. I don't know what's happening. Messages were coming in as I was crashing. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, keep us updated on the Stu B situation.
Yes,
Mark,
Brandon, bees.
that story that you read is like one of my new favorite stories ever. Like
Oh,
just everything about it is
thank you
brilliant.
so much.
And I love the attitude in which you read it as well. Like it was so fucking perfect.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. I have like it goes like that's the it goes off the rails from there. I'm so happy. Like it's
Okay.
just yeah. I can't wait.
Thank you so much, Mark. And let Stu know that once the bee situation is resolved, if we're still going, he can come in, he can join, he can read. It's no
I will
problem.
message him now. I will turn my camera off and message him now.
Thank you so much, Mark. So Brandon, you're up next. Since you've been moved 2 or 3 slots up the docket tonight.
All right, that is an impossible act to follow, but show must go on, right?
You look like today you're in like supporting demon from Supernatural gear tonight. So I'm excited to see where this is going.
All right, I'll take that. So these are a couple of poems I wrote. 5 of them are inspired by true relationship stories, so this should be fun. Arsenic. To this day, I don't know what I saw in you. Our time together makes little sense in hindsight. I say this not to be hateful, but to speak the truth. Truth that should have been spoken sooner. We all have our paths to walk, hours crossed of isolation and regret. 3 years lost in confusion, consumed by caring for you, soured by your insecurities. You turned this toxic. Were it not for your vitriol, I'd likely have remained and been poisoned. Sulfur. The transformation of the soul burned bright when you came to my side. Bound in torment and suffering, maladies I had hoped to save you from. As for 6 long months I tried. 3 hours and hundreds of miles apart, you were my first good morning and my last good night. And in the hour of the wolves, the only one that I would wake for to talk down from the recurring nightmares. And still, we never kissed, though we bookended it all with you asleep in my arms. But it was never enough and could never be enough. And so I was cast aside and strung along to drown in the wake of you. A pity that you realized far too late that after running into the arms of another, I would have cut my cords, and the years before would hold no meaning. Zinc. What ills does one sow when they seek to find a simple distraction from their pain? What use is the raw material when the byproduct of its breakdown can provide healing for the master? You came to me, lurid and holding your own rope, asking for nothing and promising salvation. But nothing wasn't good enough for you. You wanted more, and so you burned. And in your ashes, I was healed. Salt. I was brought to you by disillusionment. Boredom and cynicism ruled the day. But just as seawater boils away and leaves behind its truth, I found more in you than I had expected. A deeper connection that seemed to be generations in the making. Our roots grew from the same soil, but just as a process can refine the impurities, the stains of tears signify that which is left behind. And the sting that lingers in my eyes is that I didn't end it sooner. Magnesium. You could have been eternal, you know. Everything that I had ever envisioned flared to life, to a life I could never have foreseen. In the moment our lips touched, and I was blinded, the fire that I could not extinguish, that hurt to look upon, but would light my path to the future. We were never meant to be, only to spark, ignite, and fade away. Antimony. I've been alone too long now, living on the edge of society, burned at every opportunity, unwelcome and having no urge to change it, gone feral and roaming, ensnared in sensory deprivation, rejecting the idea of acquiescing to the expectation of remaining beholden to this. Why conform once you've seen life with no leash? Quicksilver. Ephemeral and elusive, perhaps it is nothing more than myth and theory. Something that I have yet to find and have come to doubt if it could ever be. I've stopped chasing the idea that there could be found a core of gold within a heart turned to lead, after having broken so many teeth on stones found within the sweetest fruit. How could there be any other philosophy?
You killed it, man. So, I'm always really interested, like, when poetry deals with personal pain. I'm always interested to see the lenses that authors find to be able to communicate that in a way that, that doesn't tear off the scab too much, right? And you've done so. You've found a really interesting conceit here with the with the different elements, with the alchemical compounds, as a way to kind of like abstractly like process pain, like to like blunt the pain while processing it by using this literary conceit, right? And I think it's really clever, and I dig it, is what I'm saying.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I like the touch at the end with the philosopher, the stone, biting stone, the philosopher's stone thing. That was something I noticed the first time I read it. That was really pretty cool. But I like all of these, the imagery and stuff mixed with the very personal stuff, because I personally, when I write shit, I have trouble like with really personal poetry and stuff. I have trouble with the imagery, but this like has both packages. It's got the very personal introspection plus the imagery down too, and it's really cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely wanted it. Yeah, the imagery and that is what Rudy said. And then also I posted some.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. So I'm going to give Michael a little bit more time since
I'm good, actually.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think I'm good. I
Okay,
mean,
then it's all yours.
cool. Let me just, yeah, so like I was saying, I was finishing this as this call started, so apologize if anything sounds a little rushed or if they're just straight up typos I stumble over. Cool. All right, so this is called Transactions. One second. Okay. My money problems at the casino began when I removed the small box of chocolate-covered pretzels from the snack bar. The thing cost me $27, and while the whole transaction was silent, I could almost feel some unseen gears moving in the walls, a vast mechanism that calculated the first of what would surely be countless invisible charges. I opened the box and found 7 small pretzels, unevenly coated in thin chocolate. The taste was stale, and as I crumpled the box in my hands with 2 pretzels left inside and tossed them into the small black plastic trash bin, I feared this moment would echo through the weekend. I was in the neck fat of New England for a wedding. I arrived early and had nowhere yet to go. I was bored and worried about the itch to gamble, something I'd kept in retreat for many years. It wasn't about the money, of which I felt I had enough thanks to an uninteresting but sufficiently lengthy career in financial services, where I sold tall tales to pale boomers. It was the default of control that worried me. The potential to burn my finger so bad I'd lose all sensation. The risk of falling victim to a place everyone calls a hotel, but is really an airport that takes you nowhere and keeps you from leaving. Anxious, I paced the cool room barefoot. I thought I could outwalk these thoughts. Through the window, I watched cars fill the spots in the mammoth sun-bleached parking lot as the remaining light of day fled west into the hills. My heartbeat wandered like a drunk. I slowed my breathing, as my doctor suggested, and focused on the sky. A seagull, too far from the ocean but close to the bountiful debris, soared by. The sunlight speared something metal, a drone zooming in a perfect line above the lot. It stopped, hovered, then soared vertically and out of sight. I decided then that I would spend the weekend in pursuit of a great truth, something within the crackle of playing cards, long cry of footsteps, the wedding. How I would find it, I didn't know, but even as I rode the train up from New York, I had an inkling of magnitude, or maybe even a kind of holy importance. Maybe God was playing blackjack a few floors below. To find this truth, I'd go days without sleep if necessary. But I didn't know where to begin. The casino didn't let you smoke indoors, not even in those special rooms at the edges of the facility, shuttered during the pandemic. So I slipped out one of the entrances and lurked in the shadows between a pair of dumpsters and watched a limousine crawl beneath the awning of the lobby. Tuxedos and golden dresses housing humans poured out of the limo and through the casino doors. It was immoral to judge them because we were there for the same damn thing. So I stubbed my cigarette out of one of the dumpsters and went back inside. I asked an attendant where I could find a good bite to eat inside, and they handed me a map, opened it, and pointed at different hallways pocked with red numbered stars. These are restaurants, they said. Thanks. Are any of them good? I'm not sure. I eat at home, they added with a laugh. That makes sense, I said. Cheers. Good luck. I slumped into a chair in the lobby and checked my empty text inbox. I was waiting for a signal, a guide. This listlessness was too early. Seated on the couch across from me, a man in a rumpled suit stretched his fingers like he was opening an onion. His mutterings, indistinct, soared loud enough for me to hear him talk about money in the car. Exhaustion carved purple sand dunes beneath his eyes. Our gazes matched. I was struck by the impression that the man only ever spoke to himself, beyond those moments of necessity when he had to communicate with the world. He had no words for me, nor I him. Instead, I nodded. The man rose and his left hand gripped the wallet budge in his pants pocket. Then he stomped to the exit and left through the automated sliding doors. My body demanded stimulus, so I left the lobby and passed through the concourse of shops and restaurants. Guests teetered on small chairs and devoured teetering burgers and massive pizza slices. Some of them nursed coffee and counted plastic chips. Feet, every last one, kept time in frantic taps on the pristine parquet floors. I was hungry but didn't want food, so I kept going and entered the gaming area. The place was ablaze with neon fire. It felt like I'd fallen into a pinball machine. The noise rose and fell over me. Nearly all the chairs were occupied, and every number-glazed face was the scariest face I'd ever seen. One of the nearby low-stakes blackjack tables had an open seat, so I took it and then snagged a water bottle from a waiter-pushed cart as it passed. The dealer looked at me expectantly. I hadn't planned this far. The dealer looked away and dealt us a fresh hand to the others. I took a $100 bill from my wallet and laid it flat on the felt tabletop. Not yet, the dealer said without looking at me. The dealer scored 20 on the flip and collected everyone's chips with their small hands. They glanced at my money before their eyes flicked up to meet mine. Do you want to buy in? They asked. Yes. Put your money forward, please. I took my bill, tried to rub the creases from it, and moved it a few inches closer to the dealer. The dealer looked at the bill, placed it on top of a slot in the table, and then pressed the bill into the slot with a plastic wedge. Changing 100, the dealer said before counting out a stack of 20 red chips, each worth $5. They divided the chips into 2 piles of 10 and then placed them in front of me. The other players had arrayed their bets as this happened. Without thinking, I took one of the chips and placed it in the small white ring in front of me. The minimum bet is $15, the dealer said. Oh. That means you need 3 of the red chips. I took 2 more chips and placed them on top of the first chip. The dealer gestured at our placed bets, which I later observed signified that the betting period was closed. Then the dealing of cards began. Pure fluidity, like watching a master violinist. It was no mere robotics. Yes, I was caught up in the moment, a feeling inflamed when the first card that landed before me was a king of spades, followed by a king of hearts. I shifted in my chair. I looked to the right and the others were watching, nodding, intoxicated by my show of luck. I grinned. Very nice, exclaimed the player nearest to me. He wore a gray blazer and smelled like beer. Sits down with all the luck right away, said another. The third said nothing and continuously rearranged his collection of chips and organized them into stacks for individual bets. At the end of the run, the dealer scored 20 and tapped the felt in front of my chips. What happened? It's a push, the player beside me said. A tie. Oh. My next 2 cards were a 7 and a 5, 12. I closely watched how the other players chose to either hit or hold, how their hands moved above the table, to see whether their techniques might provide a shred of luck. When the dealer turned to me, I hesitated. Hit? The dealer asked. I guess so. They flipped a card, a 3 of hearts. 15, said the dealer. Hit again, the player next to me said. Anything below 16 is bad. He's right, said another. Okay, hit me. The dealer flipped the fourth card, a queen of diamonds. Bust, they told me, like it was an apology. That's rotten luck, said the first player. The next hand, I scored 21 right away. The men around me grinned as the dealer counted out chips to match my bet, plus a little extra. Don't forget about the side action, the player beside me said. He told me about betting on the dealer going bust and betting on one of my initial cards matching the one of the dealers that we could see. Over the next 4 hands, I tried this, nudging more and more of my chips forward. After those hands, I was out of chips. I stood and murmured a goodbye, a thank you. I felt numb, not like I'd been robbed, more as though I'd tricked myself. My feet carried me to the lobby in the vague direction of my hotel room. There was a reception I needed to attend in an hour. Near the clutch of chairs at the lobby center, a young man sat hunched over in a scooter. In the basket in front of him was an empty flask of whiskey and a half-full jug of water. No one else was around him, as if he were invisible to the passing horde. The line for the front desk was 36 people long, and the upside-down bowl of a ceiling roiled with the sound of their complaints, their excitement, their wonder. They wanted to see what I too wanted to see. We were different. We were the same. After the reception around 1 a.m., I found some luck in my pocket in the form of a surprise $100 bill and found a blackjack table near the exit. My friends had gone to bed. The undercurrent was different. I scored blackjack in my first hand. Me, the others, we were winning. An older woman who stepped out to smoke an extra long cigarette every 12 hands bet as a skydiver would, and her chip stacks rose and fell and rose again like successive civilizations. We simply had fun. I took a bathroom break an hour later, and as I passed through the small
Shut
bar
the
area,
fuck up.
watched several patrons vainly seek late-night buffalo chicken pizza as the tenders scrubbed glasses and counted out cash in the machine. One of the guys was dating the attendant who, as best she could explain, that the time for food had passed. Her eyes darted to her phone on the counter, the infinitesimal diamond on her finger. The scene was still going when I made my way by again, and the guy was yelling about how much he dumped into the place, what he was owed. I kept walking, felt thirsty, and disappeared into the xylophonic tangle of the gaming floor. I returned to find admonishment. After a hand played out in which I had lost, the dealer took her time in doling out the winnings, counting the chips with an errant finger, making conversation as she did. A few minutes after she'd finished, the pit boss approached. A scar tore its way from forehead to chin along the side of his face. He was thin and at first said nothing as he stopped with less than an inch between him and the dealer. Young lady, there's a way they taught you in school. Match the stacks, color by color. Follow that method, he said. He looked 35. The dealer began to speak, but the pit boss cut her off. The school method. His voice felt like an oubliette. The dealer looked at the chips and said nothing. The school method, the pit boss said one more time. When he was gone, we herded our chips forward. The dealer dealt another hand. If she was upset, she didn't show. She pulled a jack and an ace, a heart and a diamond. As she claimed our money, some of the smoking woman's friends sidled around her. She squeezed her forehead and started to pile her chips into a small black bag. I'm moving on. I can't believe what that man just did to her in front of everyone. She spoke louder than she needed. I nodded at the empty space between the dealer and me. The silent player beneath us took his chips, left a $5 chip on the felt, and walked in the direction of the slots. I stood and left a chip of my own. The dealer smiled and nodded, and then placed her left hand beneath a small automatic disinfectant dispenser. The gear inside it turned, and the clear gel rose from her palm. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Beautiful in ways I can't express to you without the necessary hours spent explaining the intricacies of all our relationships, how we arrived at this juncture in life together. Even then, you wouldn't understand its beauty or strangeness. You couldn't. If there was a rejection of the casino, it was there, at the ocean water, where the wind frenzied the sea, where the cold couldn't find us in the canticles of candlelight, soft speeches, a love I know I'll never achieve, the holy dance beneath a chamber of stars. It was a refuge, which never lasts. That's how getting older is felt. The gnawing sense of my soul is increasingly exposed, that a day is mostly spent scrambling across the earth's surface from one safe place to the next. Love and friendship, the glow of recognition, victory, the game, the thrill of the monetary swing. Or not, I don't know. Maybe I say this because I'm running out of time. When the reception ended, a dark bus carried us overland back into the casino's magnetic field. At the wooded streets swallowed us again and again. I cracked my knuckles and thought of stacks of chips measured against each other. I wanted to win back what I'd lost. I felt fated to do so. It wasn't about the money, just a rejection of inertia. Our bus turned out of the trees and the prism of the casino splintered open for us. Upon return, I went back to my room, removed my pants, and collapsed on the bed. My feet moaned. I set a 15-minute alarm on my phone so I could attend the after party. I woke, saw that an hour had passed, blinked away another. When I made it to the casino bar, my friends were gone, scattered to sleep after gallons of adrenaline. For 2 hours, I bounced from table to table. My fresh chip hoard doubled in size. A waitress brought me a double whiskey, then another. I'd won, but I hadn't found the thing I really wanted that none of us can buy, that life script, that meaning. Maybe it was here. All day I'd stewed on the dealer and the pit boss, the psychic pain of the smoking woman. What kept them here? What kept the others? I didn't yet know its name. During a long piss in a busy bathroom, I decided to stay and search for some more. I found a table with 3 drunks. That early in the morning, the tables with more pedestrian buy-ins were closed. The stakes were $50 minimum a game. I sat and felt my spirit bounce. I found something, I thought. The dealer scored 21 on the next 5 hands. My chips evaporated. At the far end of the table, one of the players lost $5,000 in 3 minutes. He opened his wallet and counted out another 900. We got to play through the bad cards, boys, he told us. The next hand, the dealer scored another 21. The high roller was playing 3 sets of cards at once. One of the other players squeezed his arms red with his thick fingers. This is insane, he said. The high roller adjusted himself on the stool. This is how it goes, he said. The demons are with us. You got to look at the long game. That's why I'm here. These are hero losses. We're doing it for the others. They're the tragic losses. When the waste was complete, I stood. I had nothing left to tip. $400 fallen from my fingers. The high roller sipped his drink while the other 2 argued over who would open Tinder. My feet said goodbye. As I walked, I'd found they'd closed off broad sections of the gaming floor. Much of what was left were computer terminals, big tablets, which let you play one of a half dozen games, blackjack, craps. These machines stood amphitheater style and most of the seats were taken. Huge television screens depicted the casino they played against. On one, a machine popped a single die. You could bet on the outcome. The rise and fall of money reduced to 6 digits. No one looked up because the computers told them everything they needed to know. I must have looked frightened or confused because a woman approached me and asked if I was lost. I said I was. I told her my room number, and while I couldn't remember the name of the hotel room block, I described how from my window I could see the parking lot and the mountains and the beautiful sunset. I told her about the wedding, how it made me cry all night because I didn't know if I'd ever banish this chronic loneliness. How during the party I'd wandered down to the shore and wondered how many oysters slept and breathed in the water. The casino passed around us. She told me about her divorce, how it had just begun, this vast maze of complication, cheating on both sides, a shared home. She said it felt strangely peaceful, like a disaster that actually caused the chaos to cease. A course change, she told me, and she wondered if she'd wanted this all along. When we got to the elevator, the woman helped me fish my wallet from my pocket, and I showed the elevator attendant my room card. Thanks for the walk, the woman said, and then she was gone. In the elevator, it took 5 minutes to remember that I needed to swipe my card before pressing the floor button. Instead, I kept pressing and wondering why I couldn't hold the light. When I remembered, I cracked up, held my face as joyful tears poured out like a manic confession. In my room, I stripped all my clothes and opened the window blinds. The sky was light blue. My belongings were scattered around me, trapped in the sheets, spread around the bathroom like wandering insects. Through the window, I watched a pickup truck crawl from a parking space. The sun is coming and the casino has lost its power, I said to myself. Smoke poured from beneath the truck as it rounded a turn and disappeared on its 4-story journey to the earth. And that's it.
That was, and just as it ends, my cat's automatic feeder goes off. I hope you couldn't hear that. But anyway, that was phenomenal, Michael. This is so like wildly different from most stories that I've read or heard about gambling, right? Because you have all the highs and the lows in there, but you don't fixate on the highs and the low and the drama and the stakes. Instead, you've got a really hypnotic kind of meditative piece here, and it's really good. It feels like it's gesturing at like something profound, right? Like it feels like it really does feel like the experience of being on a trip, being away from home in a strange place, and like all the weird spiritual stakes that you feel in an experience like that. And the casino like perfectly captures that sense of like there being spiritual stakes, right? That you can't quite grok, that you can't quite get your hand around. And losing everything and not and having it still feel like it was part of some transformative or profound experience, even though you can't like really figure out how or why. I do have to ask though, given the field that you work in, right, and given what's been happening over the course of the last couple of weeks in crypto, was your decision to write a story about gambling at all inspired by the fact that
No, it's funny. This is actually like 70% true. I went to a wedding at a casino like 2 weeks ago, and I took like 30 pages of notebook notes. Like a lot of this is like kind of drawn from like actual experience. Yeah, I was at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Rhode Island, which yeah, really terrifying place if anybody's looking to see some really messed up pits of humanity. Yeah, I mean, like my experience with sort of like the gambling factor that is crypto, like certainly colors like my overall impression of, people, why people want to do activities like that.
Right.
I'd never been in a casino for like an extended period of time before, and yeah, I mean, I definitely lost a little more than $400. But yeah, I mean, this was kind of like what came out of it, and I don't think it's done yet. I feel like there's some kind of more I need to dig into. But yeah, I mean, this is like probably like 70%, 75% like real depiction of what actually went down.
It's
The
good.
wedding was really nice. It's probably one of the best weddings I've ever been to. But yeah, that casino was super fucked up.
What I do have to one more thing I have to mention because I just remembered it. If you do edits, whatever you do, do not cut that moment in the elevator where the elevator almost becomes like another slot machine.
Oh
And
yeah,
you get
yeah.
that sense of like you're hitting the button, that like it's like there are some like synapses that are still firing from before, and you're not
Mm.
sure why you're not getting a response out of the machine. Like it's something about that is so perfect because I think there's this kind of sense of like mystic causality about gambling, and like the fact that you're still carrying that around with you when you get in the elevator, and it's almost like, well, I just have to wait for the elevator to deal me a good hand, right?
Mm.
I don't know, it's really good, so definitely don't cut that moment.
Thank you. I appreciate the thoughts, and thanks for letting me read tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you, Michael.
One thing I like about it is the little details, like the obviously like the gambler's fallacy thing, like where he's like, these are hero losses, we gotta get through the bad cards and shit like that. But also the way you capture like the absolute terror of the pit boss. Or I worked at I trained to work at a casino doing blackjack, and those guys are actually really frightening, and we call them floors when we worked there. But they're like what he said to the woman, the dealer, about the school method, the fucking, and he's like right behind her in this menacing aspect of the pit bosses is really, that's really true to life, um as far as I can tell. And it really took me back, I guess.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that whole scene basically happened verbatim. Watching the guy lose $5,000 in like a few minutes was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now that pit
It's
boss was
terrifying for you
crazy scary.
captured. Yeah, you captured how it's terrifying for the dealer and for the the house, and also for the people losing the money. It's really like it's a real situation for everybody when there's something like that. It's wild.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Michael. So GG is next.
Yeah, one sec. Let me just get away from my cat real quick. All right, I've got another school assignment here. This one is called Bar Bug. All right. In the clerk's office, Gregor Samsa is seated in his chair, bent over at the waist, his hands fumbling with his shoes. This morning, he had woken up with ample time to make his train connections, arrive at the office early, and even start on the lunch he had brought from home. Something of a treat. The small bit of cheese he had eaten earlier upon his initial sit down at the desk had given him a bit of an ill feeling, though Gregor is unsure if this sensation had only been intensified, not brought on by the cheese, as he had been feeling a bit ill since leaving the house this morning. He suspects maybe that his shoes are responsible, tied too tight. Oh shit, where was I? Oop, that's the wrong page. Tied too tight, somehow restricting his toes, maybe pinching a blood vessel. His coworkers stand at their usual distances from him, grouped together, glancing over their shoulders and over each other to take calculated, wandering glances in his direction. Today, they titter about how he seems to be emitting small burps and other gaseous noises while holding his head between his knees. One of them, his boss, looks too long and witnesses Gregor removing his shoes. He's putting them on the wrong feet. This is relayed to the group, who adds further calculation to their furtive glances in Gregor's direction, though whether those are meant to make Gregor aware of his viewing audience is unclear. He's never sure if they're looking at him with pity, if he is acting improperly and somehow offensively, or if they're simply experiencing pauses in their spirited but office quiet conversation. With his shoes on the other feet, Gregor sits upright in his chair. He taps his heels on the ground. He wiggles his toes. Hears a coworker laugh, points his face in their direction, sees the back of their head. Gregor looks down. He gets lost in a new inspection of his shoes. Were they more comfortable this way? He knocks the sides of his shoes together and frowns a bit at the shoe toes and how they seem to be moving away from one another. Gregor decides to put his shoes back on the feet they belong to. Attention, says the boss, having broken away from a gossip group. Some have heard him, though others remain at their desks or in small groups of conversation, lost in their current engagements. The boss drags his finger down his face from hairline to chin. He blinks a few times. Attention, he says again, affecting a lower pitch, slightly more authoritative tone. All eyes turn to look at him now. Our numbers, he begins, then clears his throat. Your numbers, your sales. There is a pause, a scan of the room. Is Gregor looking at his shoes, at the ground? Some of you are lacking. Gregor knocks the toes of his shoes together again, this time hard enough to make a noise heard by the entire office. A few look in his direction. Gregor's boss sighs. I want you to all know this. This week is an important one. There must be improvement no matter how slight. You must work together, support one another, share your skills so that we may grow as a company. If those who are lacking do not improve, Gregor's shoe knocking increases, assuming a summer cicada-like frequency. The boss clears his throat and, avoiding looking in Gregor's direction for fear of raising his own voice and losing respect from those in the office who valued his measured style of administration, resumes his small speech. If those who are lacking do not improve, unfortunately, I must tell you that you will be let go and must pursue work elsewhere. That is all I have to say. That is the meeting for this week. Please return to work. A quiet murmur spreads through the office regarding who needs improvement and how they could possibly be helped. Gregor bends over in his chair, begins to untie his shoes, convinced that he must switch the feet they're on. Knock, knock. Gregor Samsa sits up in his chair and turns to look at the coworker who has wrapped their knuckles on his desk. His shoes are untied. His coworker Max informs him that he and his small cohort of office friends are going to the tavern today. Drunks are the key to making easy sales, he tells Gregor. Plus, we can discuss strategies for the sober in a far more effective, rigorous manner if we're able to breach the wall of politeness with a few drinks. Come with us. Gregor feels unable to contain his excitement at finally being included. His face betrays his loneliness and how long he has desired such an invitation. He bends over at the waist and ties his shoes. Ah, yes, okay. Give me a few minutes and I'll be ready to leave, says Gregor, his head below his desk. 100 seconds, then we're leaving for the train to the tavern, says Max, walking away to don his jacket and tell the office friends of what he has set in motion. You've invited the Erminve, says one. I just wanted to enjoy the day getting drunk and gambling. Why must you bring work, says another. Did you see what he was doing with his shoes today? He's barely even a man, more a worm, larva. Quiet, he looks like he's nearly ready, says Max. He begins to explain that they must get him as drunk as possible, but one of the office friends pipes up again. Why do you think I have my arrangement with our boss to arrive later in the day? Why do I schedule my clients to meet in the earliest hours of the morning? Because my desk is next to his. Without my arrangement, I would have to hear Gregor talking to the food he brings every morning, hear him muttering about the importance of taking small bites of the apples and other things he brings. I would have to sit at my desk, attempting to maintain my records while he does his stretching exercises and breathes like a drowning rat. I'm sick of Gregor. I'm sick of Gregor, Erminve of the office. Gregor, having squared away his things, puts on his jacket and approaches the group, ready for a day of learning and business at the tavern. He hears this word, Erminve. What does that mean? Asks Gregor. What does what mean? Replies the office friend, showing his teeth in a manner Gregor felt unable to interpret. A smile, a sneer, Erminve. It's Latin, a title. Means we're going to pull you up and save your job. Gregor's eyes narrow slightly. A crease forms in the middle of his brow. But my numbers have been adequate. Nothing exceptional, but I have been making good sales. Green numbers. The office friend falters for a second, nearly forgetting how the practice of crossing out Gregor's name and replacing it with their own, after telling him they would bring his paperwork to the boss for finalization, was unknown to the Erminve. Perhaps, but they could always be better, no? Gregor nods. That makes sense. Good, good, says the office friend, once again showing his teeth to Gregor. Latin. Thank you, says Gregor. At the tavern, the cohort of office friends knock their beer steins together on a table in a rhythm. Chug, 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 they chant at Gregor. Gregor struggles to finish more than half of his beer, having tipped his mug too far back, spilling liquid down his chin and the front of his body. His white shirt is now see-through, revealing a pasty, pale body. With the mug still to his lips, Gregor burps, sending a bubble into the beer and causing the rest of it to spill onto himself. More than half of the office friends are unable to contain their disgust at Gregor's ineptitude, and so bury it in the quick chugging of their own beers. They simultaneously burp in Gregor's direction and laugh. With some beer in his body and surrounded by the laughter of those he shares an office with, Gregor smiles. The next round is on me, he announces. Drink up, everyone. Gregor stands up from the table and approaches the barkeep. Max smiles and quietly addresses the cohort. If he repeats what he just did for the next drinks, I will be very upset. Gregor's Erminve brain better not think that the drinks belong in his body. The group laughs. Gregor returns with the beers and only spills a little out of each one as he hands them off to the office friends. Halfway through his beer, he announces, in a voice that is slightly too loud, that he must go to the bathroom. Shots of schnapps are ordered and poured into his beer in his absence. Is this right? Surely he's a good person with good intentions, asks one of the office friends. Gregor's desk neighbor clenches his teeth and fills his cheeks with air. He rubs his eyebrows. His face resembles a shoe tied too tight. He exhales. Good intentions? You think Gregor has good intentions? He has Gregor intentions, Erminve intentions. He has a long sip of his beer. I like to squash him under the heel of my shoe. I like to put on 4 pairs of boots and stomp on him. Just stomp on him, right out of existence. Stomp who, says Gregor, having returned from his bathroom break. The boss. Ah, that's not very nice, says Gregor. We should pay heed to authority. He looks at his beer, not noticing the intensity of the collective eye roll emanating from the office friends. Drink up, Gregor. We need to discuss business. Be more careful with how you manage the glass this time, says Max. This time we will do this in a line. I finish my drink, the person next to me finish theirs, and so on. When it's your turn, you drink up. Got it? Yes, like a waterfall of us drinking. How fun. Sure, just like a waterfall. I'll begin. Max finishes his drinks. The 3 office friends to his right follow. They watch Gregor sip at his beer, make a face of pain, and put it down. He breathes heavily a few times. Come on, Gregor, drink up. Yeah, drink up, Gregor. Drink like the Erminve you are. Feeling bolstered by the encouragement and the repeat mention of the title they had given him, Gregor struggles through his drink. He finishes it. He burps, vomits a bit in his mouth. Smiling weakly, he swallows the vomit down and slams his mug onto the table. Done! The drinking around the table continues and finishes. With all the glasses empty, an office friend is tasked with bringing them back to the barkeep and returning with fresh beers. Gregor excuses himself to the bathroom again, and more schnapps are ordered for his drink. Half beer, half schnapps this time. Gregor Samsa wakes up groggy, headached, and with the taste of iron in his mouth. He runs his tongue over his teeth and feels small flecks of food. Had he eaten at the tavern? He lifts his face and shoulder from the floor and feels something sticky. Looks at his chest, touches it with his hand. What was this slime? What are these little bits of food? Gregor picks up what looks like a small piece of cheese from his shirt and examines it. The cheese from morning. Gregor sits up with energy, smacking his head onto the table he has been unconscious beneath. He utters a small cry of despair, alerting the bartender, who thinks there's a rat somewhere in the bar, squeaking about. Gregor Samsa begins to cry a little as he attempts to scoop his vomit into his pockets. The barkeep, incensed by the idea that vermin may make a home in his bar, stomps over to the squeaking, crying noises and upends the table with great force, knocking Gregor upside the head with it in the process. Gregor looks up at the barkeep. He holds vomit in one cupped hand. He places it into his coat pocket. Out, out, says the barkeep. He kicks Gregor in the legs. What is this? You're trying to bring home vomit? You wish to keep this and use it for getting drunk later? No, Gregor starts, but is kicked again, this time in the ribs. Get up, now. Yes, no, you see, I was simply another kick. Up, out, now! Gregor is kicked in the body and legs by the barkeep as he makes his way to his feet and out the door of the tavern. It is dark outside. He falls in a ditch and cries for an hour. Gregor Samsa picks himself up, creeps home, and crawls into bed.
That was great, GG. I love how you managed to so effectively capture the spirit of like Kafka's original story, while still like setting it in an entirely believable like universe, right? Like there's no supernatural elements here. Nobody gets metamorphized into anything, but yet like that undercurrent of like the sadism of work and the like and like the just like complete lack of empathy or hospitality or even humanity there, right, is so in keeping with Kafka. And the final, like that final paragraph, like it escalates. It escalates in such a gross and horrifying and sad way. It's so good, Gigi.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the part where he's getting kicked in the legs just constantly, just kneecapped constantly. I love it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
And you can feel him become the beetle in those scenes, right? You can
Yeah,
feel him
no,
become the vermin.
the Ermin Bay.
The Urban Bay, exactly.
It's so good.
Yeah, thank you, Gigi. So, Rudy, I think like let's let a moment of silence for Stuart Bach, who hopefully has
Yeah.
not been stung by that bee in his house. But so I don't think we'll see Stu tonight. But so Rudy is up next, and Rudy's our last reader. So if anyone would like to read, we have plenty of time. Just put it in the chat, and you can go after Rudy. And Rudy, it's all yours.
Just one second.
Mhm.
Nothing but Stu.
Okay, Eris, and then Grapes will go after Rudy.
Roger. Okay, I'm gonna read something. This story is called Life. It's topical, I guess. Also completely ridiculous. Like life. I'll just. When the fornicators and anarchists outside the Louisville Planned Parenthood mega clinic fall silent, the supernatural, the universe in 6 days, the resurrection of the dead, Jesus Christ, wave dancing. Decent Christian talk only, you heathens, says Church Mouse. She is hushing the masses. Fucks, flames, and fighting words extinguished. The youth pastor quieting everyone for the prayer before the local Christian punk band performs in the rectory. When the gathered degenerates fall back, recoiling before weapons that are not carnal, the supernatural. A human hand shaped into a finger. Pistol, ostensibly harmless. A gun sound. Bang. Multiple fatalities. Oh, not harmless. Fire. Smoke. Eat, says Shogun, earning himself a look of scorn from Church Mouse and 6 more confirmed kills. He is scattering the masses, a flock lost in their own Roman wilderness of vain, transsexuals, feminists, drug pushers. When the people fall to their knees screaming for absolution, it's supernatural. Bodies crash into each other. No Dave Matthews, yet voyeurism continues from afar. Spontaneous cauterized amputation below the fibula, limited bleeding, says the Jefferson County Coroner's report. Correct. Written by hand with trembling hands. She, Tamsin Snyder, is unclenching her jaw-fist combo, the one that she uses when she wields, becomes really, in the Clark Kent sense, the lifesaver, which is the sword that God will use to take back Kentucky. Her ski mask chafes, the glowing beam of energy on her arm chafes, her sense of purpose chafes, but in a good way. The natural elements sing for him, earth, wind, and fire, and radium. The agitating elements fear him, communists, anarchists, faggots, enablers. God is the ultimate guy with the fish hat, God doesn't talk to Tamsin Snyder, but she talks to herself. She knows what he would say. She knows she wants to get to know him, but ADHD makes it hard. ADHD says, "Are you listening to me?" Unrelated, Shogun is mouthing, "Are you talking to me?" ADHD repeats, "Me, me, 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 me." Tamsin is holding that thought in her mind, cradling it like an infant, honestly. She's also holding off numerous police cars and police helicopters dropping barrel bombs that shout, "Move." She is cutting them from the pristine blue sky with tender swipes from her right arm, just like a patient reaper, methodically recovering the blade each time so that its girth blocks the bullets police officers are shooting at her. Right, right, right. People inside are halved, quartered, chunked. Eventually, none of them are left. She turns to face the cops. Her sword is the size of the downtown area. Her sword is pink and transparent, like they want governance to be. Her sword is composed of the souls of all the babies aborted within 100 miles of this place, which is not a trivial amount of babies. Tamsin Snyder draws her power from the act of abortion. Tamsin Snyder lives, breathes in defiance of abortion and abortioners. A man is standing behind Tamsin, skinny, clean-shaven, 5'11". A militarized police vehicle approaching is 5'11 and a half. A previously unmentioned reanimated mass of baby parts reclaimed from medical waste facilities all over the state is 6 foot for the purpose of realizing this stupid meme joke. But in actuality, it is much, much larger, probably the size of a small skyscraper. It's just lumbering there to the right of Tamsin, who animated it with love, Don Bluth. It sure is ready to do some damage on behalf of God, or man, or woman. The skinny dude is Jim, codename Other Side. He is the appointed leader of the Life League, the Christian superhero coalition that loathes choice more than a 1990s Sierra adventure game. He isn't scared. It's just cold out here. Yep, you should target the vehicle, Jim says with squeaky confidence that suggests he's some dumb hubby from a 1990s sitcom where the wife is the whole brains of the operation. Operation, the board game. Insert another 1990s reference here because that's when I grew up, and I need you to feel this. I know, Tamsin says demurely. Oh yeah, I know that you know. Jim returns like he's financed by Marvel as opposed to Pat Robertson. Allegedly? Definitely. Allegedly is italicized because it's said ironically. This is how Marvel explains things. But anyway, Life League is 100% in-universe funded by a fictional version of Pat Robertson. Okay? Tamsin makes an obedient jab that severs the front end of the police Humvee, planting it firmly in the ground. The officers are ejected through the front window and roll for a while before coming to a rest in the physics homework sense. The spiritual sense, well, who could know? We'll pray for them. Other Side fist pumps. His celebration, though not excessive, is early. As a SWAT team arrives and starts up a barrage of ordnance that keeps the swords maiden of life busy, there is a flash of light to the hero's rear. A figure clad in Kevlar appears out of thin air and rushes the tremulous leader of men. He has the build of a husky Kentucky farm boy, thick as pudding. A patch on his chest reads, "Licensed Hexer." He has clearly not heard what Mr. Croce said about fucking around with Jim because in a few moments, he's on top of the smaller man, wringing his neck. Tamsin can hear the cartoonish Foley noises as punches land. Her ADHD is saying, "Look, Looney Tunes. Hey, Bugs Bunny. Hey, what's up, Doc?" She ignores it. She's too busy trying to protect her people, but also attack the human wave of cops that have started to draw closer. Hit me. Statist. Hit me, you. Plant it right there, you. Left cheek, baby. Mwah. Other side has his hands up as he lies on his back. He's not going to defend himself. Shogun is shooting the shit out of this police hexer with his finger gun and having little success. Church Mouse is kind of similar because one of the words she heard she had to censor was the N-word. And even though she's only a quarter black, that's still one drop. And some of the shit that other side has said in the past makes her wonder about what he was like before he was saved. Maybe she misheard. And did I, the narrator, just say that she was kind of simian? Nope. What the fuck is that? Is that what the fuck is that? Is what she's thinking. Nope. I actually said simmering. The battle's loud, I know. Shit is popping off. Yeah, she says. Shit is popping off. Nigger. Church Mouse says aloud without self-censoring as I force myself on her. Church Mouse, I apologize. Readers, I apologize. Lord, I apologize. Marvel fandom, I apologize. I know the relationship you guys have with fiction, one where it's real to you and character integrity is everything. Sin Tweet. Meanwhile, poor other side is still getting his ass beaten. Won't anybody help him out? Isn't anyone going to do anything? Oh yeah, keep it up, bud. Old Jim is just a glutton for punishment. He just loves to turn the other cheek. Maybe it's because his apparent power is invulnerability. Maybe it's because he's actually a good Christian. Maybe it's Maybelline. Or maybe it's because his true power is obfuscated for those of us who don't have access to Lockheed Martin's multiversal telescope and the proprietary software it uses to compare and contrast the differences between one universe and another. The reason other side prefers to face tank left hooks is because whenever the left half of his mug gets clocked, a liberal Supreme Court justice in a parallel universe dies. Just like that. Rest in power. The inverse is also true of a blow to his right side, because God is tough, but fair. It's your choice, is what he once told a woman who shut down his awkward catcall with a dismissive slap, a slap he literally pirouetted into to take on the preferred side. His ironic tone would later be vindicated in a certain cosmic elsewhere. About 15 stiff RBGs later, a bullet pierces the body armor of Farm Boy Super Cop. He doubles over in pain, then Shogun slips a finger into his helmet, blows his head smooth off. Within seconds, a hand gesture from Tamsin causes 10 metric tons of baby parts to spring into action, taking one giant step for womankind towards the abortion clinic. The Fuido Golem rips the building in two, and as King Solomon is somewhere thinking, holy shit. One half of the last hope for unplanned pregnancies this side of the Indiana border is sailing through the air towards a rapidly thinning blue line. Other side is grinning. Shogun is laughing uncontrollably. Church Mouse is cheering and whistling. Tamsin is nodding. The lifesaver is dripping pink essence. We win. You lose, fucking cunts, some man shouts from a passing car at a group of women gathered outside the Supreme Court. Roe versus Wade has just been overturned and people are massing in the streets. Unscalable fences provided by Rook Gear, a firm that ironically provides scalable security solutions, have appeared throughout Washington, D.C., which might as well be light years from Kentucky. Tamsin Snyder spends the evening crying into a McDonald's milkshake, tears and strawberry shake stuff staining her orange DC Talk hoodie. Reliant K's Getting Into You echoes through her headphones. She knows what will happen to her patronage as funds are diverted away from fighting for babies to more nebulous social issues that she doesn't give a shit about. Whatever. She's got some money. She knows what will happen to her power as conservative state legislatures ban abortion and the killings cease. This is good, her Christian soul says. This real bad, her ADHD chimes in. Hey, you want to move to a blue state? Hey, New York City. Hey, Owl City. Hey, they have a song about New York. Come on. I don't want to move to a blue state. I fucking can't. I can't do that, she says in the middle of the McDonald's, breaking down into a messy, angry cry right there in her lonesome booth. Several women gather around her. One of them emanates community organizer vibes. They pat her on the shoulder and invade her personal space and hug her unsolicited, which makes her feel way worse. Fuck those fucking pigs. Fuck Susan Collins. Fuck Samuel Alito. Fuck Brett Kavanaugh. She pulls away, her hoodie comes down, and they see. Hey, someone says. You don't have to be angry alone. Years, months, and days of useless platitudes have landed Tamsin in the group home. That's what the voice in her mind that used to be enthusiastic but is now just cold, deprecating, and bitter says. Hey, your friends fucking hate you, it says. Hey, your friends are out having fun without you, talking about you. Lol, FOMO, it says. The life rallies are gone. The Life League is out doing cool shit she wishes she could be doing. She stopped going to the rallies because they dried up. We win. She stopped going to therapy even after her allergy doctor, because like Tolkien says, fuck Allegra. Excuse me. She stopped paying the bills because her bed was warmer than the mortgage refinancing guy's voice over the telephone. They, some men, carried her bed out to the curb with her in it and placed it there. After a couple of days, it wasn't very warm. God talks to her now sometimes. God says, go to New York City and kill 30 prominent Jewish physicians. The other voice is out screaming God, and out screaming is a word she heard in a Flyleaf song once. The voice says, frankly, you wouldn't make it in New York. Fucking idiot. Today, Church Mouse is visiting her with platitudes in the fucking group home. Ugh. Tamsin airs grievances. That's just, and then Tamsin asks, what? It's just, what? Life. And that's it.
Man, that was a fucking blockbuster performance worthy of a blockbuster piece. And I use the word blockbuster because this is the rare superhero movie that I would pay full price to see in the theater.
But it's not Marvel though. It's not.
No, man, but it's no exaggeration to say, I think this is one of the funniest pieces you've ever written. And because like everything that makes your work funny, the puns, the pop culture reference, and also like it's all that shit. Sorry, I'm stepping over myself. Everything that makes your work funny, the puns, the pop culture references, the like absurd takes on like the violence of humanity and the violence of the discourse and all that shit. It's all out here in full force. And it works so well with the subject matter that you're dealing with, right? Because all of that shit is like the pop culture shit, the like puns and shit is baked into superhero media. And all of that shit is also baked into the absurd like discourse and debates that we have on the internet about these issues. And it all comes together so perfectly and so hilariously. I mean, obviously there are many points in this story where you're like, I shouldn't be laughing at it. But
Yeah.
it fucking killed me. It killed me. It's so good. The fucking Life League, man. What
Yeah,
a
Pat,
what a good fucking name. What the exactly. Sorry, I'm
Pat
losing my
Roberts.
shit.
Yeah,
I'm losing my shit, man. But but no, it's fucking fantastic. And I need to mute my mic now because I'm dying.
thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for letting me read.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you, man. Oh my God, it was so good. Uh, so I made let's see. Eris is up next. Eris.
That was so awesome. Like, I'm so glad that that I already acknowledged that I love your work, so I can't talk. So I'm gonna read stupid thing I posted because it's funny, which would be my first. Oh my God, am I still muted? No. Sorry. Which was Sarah.
Nope, we can hear you just fine.
Cool. I love that you sneezed at the right time too. Like that was amazing, Rudy. Because the
Oh,
whole
thanks.
Allegra, your sneeze thing. That was
Oh, thank you.
um okay, so in 2012 I wrote something like top 15 best things my ex-girlfriend said or something like that. So that would be my first listicle that, but I'm not reading that. Okay. Okay. So I wrote this one day. Okay. Jail/rehab tips. 1. Have your life be really, really shitty before you go in. Have people in your life that make you miserable. Don't take care of yourself at all. 2. Read or listen to, and then it goes to like this open courseware link to Yale's happiness thing, which actually did help because it's like, no matter where you are, you're probably going to be equally miserable. Okay. 3. Have online friends that will write you. This is the most important. 4. View jail as a time for theosophical studies. View rehab as your time as a behavioral scientist. 5. When you are asked if you are prone to seizures, say yes if you don't want to top bunk. They will ask the date of your last 3 seizures. Make one of them within the past year. In jail, they will give you Klonopin for 5 days. And then they just taper you off of it. And then they just, yeah, you're fine. And then Buspar is popular and some people snort it. 7. In rehab, everyone takes trazodone to help them sleep. It causes nightmares. You can take Prazosin for that. Just say you have PTSD nightmares. Avoid Seroquel if you can. It makes you fat. Kat Marnell has recommended Tupamax to stay skinny, and you can totally take that in jail. 8. The day you check into rehab, do heroin or some opiates so you are eligible for MAT. This stands for medication assisted treatment. This means you can get Suboxone or methadone. To be eligible for methadone, you must be pregnant or have had several failed rehab attempts with Suboxone and be on at least something for however long you're there. I don't recommend this if you don't plan on like immediately relapsing upon your release though, 9. Your bunkie is going to make or break your stay. If you don't like her, get a trustee during programming to go house shopping with you. Preferably the one you pay to braid your hair. So trustee is someone in jail that like does stuff, and programming is what they call free time in jail because no one wants to call it free time because you're not free. 10. Get some good reading done. 11. Mental illness in jail is not on your side. If you like being able to wear underwear and use sports, you aren't suicidal, okay? 12. Don't throw food at the guards. This is called gassing. It is a crime. They will put gases above your door. I didn't do this, but I thought it was funny. The only thing I did was like throw like sporks and origami in the hallway. But anyway, you don't want any sign above your door. My best friend in jail had hostile above hers. She was great. Some other signs are withdrawing and suicidal, and they're always all in caps. Anyway. 13. The people wearing label are pregnant, so treat them accordingly. 14. The most important thing to plan for in rehab is your nicotine addiction. If your rehab accepts vapes, great. If they don't, bring as many cigarettes with you as you can. Don't give them out to people until they're your friends. 15. Honesty is the worst policy. Repeat after me. Honesty is the worst policy. In jail, everyone treats snitches accordingly. In rehab, they're celebrated and rewarded by staff. If you can keep to yourself, that's great, but you're gonna get lonely and eventually talk to someone, and then you're gonna get a jail girlfriend, and then you're gonna have all these notes that you bring with you home that are like in, I hope they serve beer in hell, like ripped out pages of that book, because that's what she read. Anyway. 14, have a massive stimulant problem before you go in either place, because then you can just sleep for like 5 days straight and you don't have to deal with anything. 15, get arrested with your glasses on. That's so important. Thank you. I hope that helps everyone.
Eris, thank you. I've often wondered if I end up in rehab or jail, what should I do? And the existing guides on this matter seem insincere.
Okay, so they need to be completely made out of plastic if you want to get them in prison or past in jail or prison. They will send them back, and like, because I'm really smart. Before I got to the jail, they took me to a hospital first, and then I was like, I'm gonna take out my contacts. So like the first week in jail, I couldn't see shit.
Eris, this is great. It was so funny, and it's great because you can see exactly the kind of piece that you're satirizing here, and you can see how worthless those pieces usually are, right? Like how to handle rehab, how to handle jail, and instead you're dispensing some real shit here, right? You're like offering something that's incredibly funny, but that like actually addresses situations that real flawed, complicated human beings would get into, right? And not just like platitudes and shit. So it's very funny. It's very sharp. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I mean, like, because a lot of it was just, I was constantly thinking about how like Manuel called me when I was in jail, and he's like, your dad said you were really happy, and I didn't believe him, but now I'm talking to you and you're really happy. Because I was doing great, because it's like, oh, I'm showering every day, I'm eating regularly, like, it's
It's amazing. It's amazing what those few small things could do, really, right?
Truly. So
Yeah, this is awesome. Gigi said it in the chat, yeah, the cure for jail and the cure for depression. But yeah, like no, I like how jail and rehab are compared and contrasted here with like real shit, like real advice and stuff. Like so, like I don't know, when I go to jail, definitely I'll be keeping these in mind.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Eris. Grapes is up next. And then Adam.
Fuck yeah, go Grapes. Oh wait. This is also, I want to say, like, Adam Johnson. Like, I have never done crack, but after reading your book, I feel like I have done crack in a way, because it's just mentioned so much. Like, I've been in a courthouse before, but I haven't done crack. Anyway, I really love your book.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Anyway. Yes, everyone should check it out.
Thank you so much, Eris. Grapes, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm reading something titled Thursday, May 12th, 2022. He sticks his tongue into my mouth, and I return the favor. We are making out on the sidewalk, me and this young man I just met. He likes me seemingly. I like him too, for now. Walking to the after party, he places his hand on my ass cheek. Arriving at the party, we go into the basement of Fog Machine Fog and an overpriced beer. A young woman walks into the room. She is not wearing something over her underwear. We gawk. The party comes to an end, and the night too. I go home alone through the misty night. Thank you.
Grapes, as usual, like the word choice here that I'm always in awe of like how much you can communicate with one or two words. The word seemingly has so much power in this poem, especially after what comes before, right? Because you have multiple lines that are very frank, very direct, and very descriptive and unequivocal, right? And then you slip that word seemingly in and it undermines everything that came before it. And then you do exactly the same thing in the next line with for now. And it's so good. It's so good. It's those little moments that like set the whole poem on edge in a really like fascinating way. And it's another great work. Thank you, Graves.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, I like I like the way it opens too with the very topical, like, hey, this happened yesterday. I like that. That's really cool. It's got a real like
yeah, the immediacy of it.
immediacy.
Yeah, like I
that's the word.
instantly felt like I was over there and I was like, whoa. I mean, that's, yeah, I mean that in a good way. obviously.
Thank you. I'm trying to be more present, so trying to not harp on previous poems and like move forward in this way.
Yeah. Also, I just really love the detail of Misty at the end.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Like you got to see it, like the misty night. Yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, I don't because you just wrote a poem about it.
Yeah, well, in that way, I captured it, I suppose.
Exactly. Also, I totally think you crying in a McFlurry or whatever is your brand.
Yes, crying into a McFlurry is on brand.
I love that. I
Yes.
love that.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Graves.
Thank
So
you.
last up tonight, Adam. Adam, close us out.
Yes.
I just want to say two things. Grapes, that was really cool. I feel like the poetry that I've heard you read has been very tightly wound and short, and the way that they end is perfect. I feel like one of the principal qualities of like a very well done poem is like the ending, and sometimes that means it ends early, and it seems like you really have captured that. And Eris, thank you so much for what you said. I feel like your book, Ruthless Little Things, is on par with like the Cut Up trilogy of Burroughs, which, you know, is like one of my favorite reads. So thank you. I was just going to read a poem, but then Elizabeth said read the meth poem, so I'm going to read that one first. Sorry I don't have it for the chat, but it's pretty easy to follow. So this is called, and so this is about a lawyer named Mark, and it's called Mark's Meth Clients Write LOL After Everything. I just got arrested, LOL. Is there a warrant, LOL? Did you get the police reports, LOL? When is court, LOL? What happens next, LOL? I won't plead to shit, LOL. Your paralegal is a bitch, LOL. Trina said she'd recant her statement, LOL. Will I get custody credit for my other case, LOL? Why did you smell like weed last time in court, LOL? When's the next hearing, LOL? How much do I owe you for trial, LOL? I'll go to trial all day, LOL. Fuck everyone, LOL. Do you take payment plans, LOL? Will you do the case for $1,000, LOL? I should get paid Friday, LOL. We hired a different lawyer, LOL. Where's the courthouse, LOL? Do they know what about my priors, LOL? Why aren't you answering, LOL? We paid 10 grand, where are you, LOL? I'm in court, where are you, LOL? The judge is asking where you are, LOL. I was just going to read two others if there's time, but I don't have to. Okay. This one's called the K-Swiss Slush Fund. I may have read this one before, actually, now that I think about it, like over 8 months ago. In any event, I'll read it. The old banker dies. The state government takes half his estate via death tax. The rest goes into a private trust, about 8 million per the terms of the banker's pour-over will, for the benefit of his kids, 3 of them in their teens. The trust is called the K-Swiss Slush Fund. That's what the kids call it, in casual speak, you see. None of your official legalese. Next house over, there is a bunch of 96 grads with silver cavity fillings, sucking on Parliament lights, strutting in classic Doc Martens, black leather with the yellow stitching. One of the kids is hooked on bootcut jeans and Aeropostale. He's ahead of his time. Everyone else is sporting Jinkos and shorties. In the meantime, the dad of the house is on his 6th gin martini, somewhere 8,000 square feet away. He's ordering from Domino's on a cordless phone. He is insistent that they send him a 2-liter of Pepsi to mix with his gin. He's watching Melrose Place, and cable news is on in picture. Next house, Slim Jims and Mountain Dews, a little band of Adidas Warriors, a mixtape with Nerf Herder, a broken lava lamp, blacklight nights, cocaine residue, Crest whitening toothpaste, an old receipt from PacSun, ephemeral sex scenes in low-def scramble vision, an idea but no imagery, a scent but no definite smell, a memory, tube socks holding histories, a burning feeling, a burning hell at dawn, something idiosyncratic, there then gone like the K-Swiss Reaper himself. Next house, a teenager in Tommy Hilfiger jeans and a baggy shirt by Results, gold chains, pierced ears. The older brother is eating frosted flakes from a popcorn bowl, high on crack. His boyfriend is passed out and covered in Sharpie and a moderate to severe case of plaque psoriasis. The older brother takes a hit of crack. He looks over at you, fixes his gaze, you, the stranger, as the smoke escapes his most fuckable lips. Right then, right before the fall of the axe, you ask, "Where do we go from here?" And he replies with the Sharpie in his hand, "There is art happening in this room." And he says, "Don't worry, kid. I know a guy up the block that just died, and his kids are rolling in K-Swiss slush." The last one is called Cleaning Out My Notes app 2020. Agatha's stories, Reformed Judaism, etc. A guy charters a yacht and buries one of the stews in the hills of Capri, etc. The exhausted millennial dad routine. Josh, the Tiger King consultant, who saw a guy get his finger bit off by a bear outside his office window. There's a short story there. Brandon, the driver. People are nightmares everywhere. The lady at Home Depot in the rusty van who called me Tom Cruise. The heart or the head, her drunken tantrum. His night in the Best Western, Ben Berman's documentary, Meta. Ironic Blair, friends with Troy from the alley, K-Swiss junkie, dead at 49. My 3 a.m. friend, the fabulous freak, reading Beyond on a voluntary basis. My little ingratiating shout out to the suffering shrinks. Garden level Ben with one foot on the moon and the other foot in the grave, buried with K-Swisses. A suicidal man with a to-do list, in therapy talking about the weather. Staring for hours into Freddie Mercury's teeth as mortgage bills pile up, delivered by the K-Swiss fanatics. A young innocent decked out in Tommy Hilfiger, looking for a score. The skee ball freaks with their stolen chromies and the animatronic freaks chanting 50 Cent. The old song and dance. The white Englishman named George, who sounds like Martin Luther King Jr. when he says the word chest. The time I had to sell Jordans in St. Louis just to get out alive. The slip of the dirty bottle at the MGM store, K-Swiss shoes in the aisle, sniffing for twist-off red blends. A property brother hooked on Oxy, Tommy Cooper dying on stage. A lawyer friend with a pack of sycophants that he hates. The night that a Simon and Garfunkel song saved my life. Parenthetical, you think I'm joking. A violent belief in the 20th century as all things holy. The word verb, the word milquetoast. The scar you got in the Mission District. That one text you sent, the reality show in Savannah, the trip to Savannah, Kelly the plumber with his giant dick, the K shoes hanging from a line, the painter who spent his money on hockey camps and Amazon, a quote from Peppermint Patty about crossing a room, a cop who jacks chains from Wiggers in '99, Jinko jeans on the floor of the spare bedroom, a PacSun employee hooked on swag who had his ears pierced at Claire's, the same kid who shot at a house and didn't know if he hit someone, and freaked for 6 months after, lost 40 pounds. A 6th generation drunk judge with a decked out colonial and a wall of CDs. Oliver Reed, the twins at the wedding with their huge hair. They looked like Christian Bale. The party pig in Brainerd. The white loon, they called her. The cemetery in Pierre Lachaise. The wine purists, Balzac, Proust, etc. Gunjan, the Indian med student turned club hustler, spineless wandering eyes. The hockey mom with the wine teeth, who died of alcohol poisoning in a room with Nintendo games and K-Swisses, a 9-year-old who stripped with a friend and fell through a glass shower door bleeding, his second heart attack, bim, 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 K-Swiss delivery by Amazon, drunk at Chili's, editors, the guy in the Adirondacks sitting by the lake with giant pandas on the arms of his chair, reading Plato, waiting to murder, a gallon Ziploc bag filled with hood ornaments, senior class pictures and Marlboro points, a shoebox with K-Swiss receipt, yearbook signatures, a subwoofer in a basement bedroom with incense burning. Replace Tyler's poem with the one about a guy who crashes a car that starts on fire and burns his clothes off, and he's left running through the suburbs like one of those bears you see on the local news from time to time. The success story about the guy who built an aviary out of empty Apothic Red bottles. Curzio Malaparte, K-Swiss shoes in the doorway. Finding a half-eaten quesadilla after sex. That one poem about a lunatic in a Honda Civic. Old dead poets. Amazing how much power one can derive from dead writers. A DVD player stolen from the front of a grocery store. Nothing doing Nightmare Stardust and Chicken Scratch across a mask. Adam Johnson erased the Bukowski poem. That's it.
Adam, you know, this is my second, third, or fourth time either reading or hearing these poems, and every single fucking time something new jumps out at me. And I think that's like really the mark of great poetry, is like they grow upon rereading, and that's certainly the case here. I have to ask you, did we publish any of these? Because I've actually lost track of which of your poems we've published before, which ones we've agreed to publish but haven't published yet, and which ones I simply read in your book.
Yeah, I don't think that any of these were at Misery Tourism.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because the first one hopped out as maybe one we might have, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, it's possible that was. So I'd have to look, but it's possible on that one.
I think we probably did, because when I read it in your book, it wasn't the first time I read it. And if I had read that before, it would have been in a submission you sent. If you'd sent that in a submission, we would have accepted it. So that's how that's my reasoning there. But no, man, that first poem, it's so funny, and it's structured like the perfect comedic bit too, because you're laughing along with it, and then at the end the punchline flips on itself in a really like elegant and hilarious way. And the second poem, excellent. The third poem is just so rich and wonderful, and I wish my Twitter drafts were like that eloquent, right? But anyway, Adam, those were fantastic poems. And does your book have a date yet?
I think it'll be a couple weeks. I don't think it's a very long turnaround time, so I think it's in a few weeks.
So it's almost here.
Yeah.
Make sure you let me know when it comes out, and I'll make sure we signal boost it on Misery Tourism and on my account.
Cool.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Yeah, that basically I just need your book like right now, but also I need it with a Tolkien-esque index or appendix that has all the characters, like additional stuff about these characters, like, you know, like Larson and Rape Genius and all the people and all the lore that goes along, you know, that's collected. You know, I want like a lore entry about Rape Genius's filthy apartment or something. I would read the shit out of that. But no, it's just like they're all clever, and they're all very like the first one you read tonight with the Lowell one. That one that killed me. It was so amazingly, because it's like you can picture it. I mean, it's like, you know, it's parodic or parody or whatever, but you can picture someone like that, and you can picture that kind of thing happening, and it's just really, I don't know. All of they have like a sense. People talk about like the sense of place in a poem or whatever. These have like a sense of like personhood. If that makes any sense. Like, yeah.
Well, thanks,
Like,
Rudy. I'll just email you the PDF if you want it. You don't have to.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. No,
I'll
thanks.
reach out to
Yeah, awesome. Either way.
Yeah, Rudy, I think you're gonna enjoy it, because there is much more Larson in there than Adam has read here, and
Fuck
the
yeah.
world is like, you do
So
get
much
even more of
Larson.
these characters,
Fuck yeah.
even more of this world, huh?
Larceny.
Anyway, thank you so much, Adam, and thank you so much, everyone. I am going to end it there. I'll leave the Zoom meeting up as usual. But yeah, thank you to everyone who read. Thank you to Mark, to Gigi, to Grapes, to Eris, to Adam, to Rudy, and I took my list down and I forgot everyone who read. But
Michael McSweeney.
Michael, yeah, thank you to Michael. Thank you to everyone who read tonight. I start to list the names and then I start catastrophizing. I'm like, why did you start listing the names? You're going to forget someone and they're going to be pissed off. But yeah, thank you to everyone who read tonight. It was another fantastic one. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do this every fucking Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We tweet out the link from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism. Come and join us. Everyone's welcome. Anyone can read their shit. Anyone can just lurk and listen and enjoy. Okay, that's it. We're done. Thank you, everyone. Oh shit, I can't find the button. Oh no, they changed it. They changed the Zoom layout. Okay, I found it. Sorry.